Really quick, before the video starts, the main idea or the original idea for this video was for me to compare all the miniseries in Adventure Time, but basically ended up dedicating an entire video to Stakes because I think it's the best one, and I ended up talking about Marceline a lot. Okay, that's it. The first episode of Stakes starts off with Marceline asking Princess Bubblegum to perform a procedure to make her not a vampire anymore. And off the bat, one of the reasons I love this miniseries so much is because it expands on Bubblegum and Marceline's relationship, which is one of my favorite parts of the show in general. The miniseries also gives a ton of backstory for Marceline's character in general, where at the start of the second episode there are a bunch of flashbacks, one to Marceline and her mom when Marceline was a little kid, and one to when Marceline eventually gets abandoned by Simon. I think Marceline is an incredibly relatable character because of this, and a lot of people have an easier time understanding her with this context that she experienced this certain level of trauma as a kid and didn't really have people looking out for her in the way that she probably should have. The next thing we learn is how Marceline ended up getting her vampire powers, which was by staking and killing all the vampires in the land of Oo a really long time ago. So back to current day, as soon as the procedure gets performed on her by Bubblegum to take her vampire powers away, the vampires return, and that sets up the series. It's basically her and Finn and Jake and Bubblegum having to fight them again, even though Marceline already did it a really long time ago. The entire miniseries consists of them fighting and getting rid of the vampires again, but what I really want to focus on is Marceline's character. Before rewatching this series, or rewatching any of the episodes for this series, I had in mind something related to Adventure Time, which was just that I wasn't really sure who my favorite character was. I had just rewatched Sex Education for a video I made and started watching Breaking Bad recently, and I kind of have a very clear favorite character in both of those shows. Although neither of them are perfect, I do relate to and root for Maeve and Walter to do well in both of those shows. And in Adventure Time, I didn't really have that 100%. I mean, Finn is pretty clearly the main character, but I don't find myself, I guess, rooting for him 100% of the time. But I guess what that's leading me to is that you can make the argument that Marceline is the most important character in the entire show. And I think that's the reason why this miniseries is so good, is because it provides so much backstory to such an important character. I mean, she's been around for a super long time in the land of Oo. She has this really complex relationship with Simon, who, I mean, shit, you could argue Simon's the most important character in Adventure Time with all the stuff he's been through with Betty and the stuff you eventually learn if you've watched Fiona and Cake, which came out after Adventure Time. Or even her relationship with Bubblegum, because you can make the argument that Bubblegum is maybe the most powerful, not force, because she's not the Lich or something like that, but she does have a lot of power in terms of, she's kind of like a matriarch type figure in the land of Oo. And then also another thing is just she's so incredibly easy to relate to as a character that I think that might be another reason why she's maybe my favorite character in the show, is just because all the stuff with Simon, with her dad earlier that you learn earlier in the show, with her losing her mom and her not being able to trust people, I think is just, the show does a very good job of conveying it in a realistic way, and the struggles that she goes through in a realistic way, which in turn makes her a very relatable character, and a character that I think a lot of people are just able to see themselves in. And making this video obviously made me think about the other miniseries in Adventure Time with, I think it's Islands and Elements. And in Islands, it's all about tying up the knot of, we don't really know what the deal with the humans are, where they went in the land of why Finn is the only one. and we get to know Islands answers a lot of those questions for us, but I think Stakes just does so much more. It just does so much more because, like I said, with Marceline, it's just so many things tie back to her, whether it be Simon, who is such an important character and such a complex character, and I think I think a lot of people would really argue that Simon is the most interesting character in the entire show. Um, and watching her be distraught at the fact that he's turned into this basically crazy old man is like fucking heartbreaking. Um, and again, I think is something that the show just does a really good job of like conveying in a realistic way. I mean, stuff like that happens all the time in real life where you have people that are not what they once were and aren't what they were when you were a kid. Um, and I think it always happens sort of faster than you expected, and it always hits you in a way that you're never quite ready for. Okay, now that I'm done with the stakes part of the video, one thing I was thinking about is at one point in the video I was talking about how Finn, I don't necessarily feel like he's my favorite character in the way that I view other characters in that way from other shows. And aside from that, I kind of want to like push back on myself because I do relate to Finn a lot. And the reason I resonate with Adventure Time so much, I think, is because of the world that Finn is in is so incredibly isolating for him. He is literally the only human. And that is incredibly relatable, and I love Finn's character for that. But I think a lot of the other characters also are in situations where stuff like that happens. But yeah. Also, before I end the video, I don't know why I just thought of this, but I used to watch this video is like sort of inspired by. I used to watch this dude named like fucking Uncivilized Elk. It's a weird name, but he made like review style videos. And I remember when I was getting back into Adventure Time, when I was in 8th grade, I started watching again, and I watched all his review videos. They were really good videos. Um, yeah, I don't know. That just came to my mind. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I might do a video on islands because for this video I ended up watching like a tiny bit of islands, like a couple of clips, and I forgot how fucking good some of the episodes are. I think the early episodes when they're trying to get to their destination are really fucking good. So I might go back and watch those now. But I don't know. I'm done. I'm done for now.